Number 47, I know is one that shows up on the state exam. A tenant signed an estate for years. It is for a 2-year period and is drafted via an attorney and a realtor conducted transaction. The agreement was until July 31st, 2020. On August 1st, 2020, what type of non-freehold estate did the tenant find himself in? C is the correct answer, right? There's no okay, there's no word of it being okay. And let's go ahead and do 49, because I know that pops up on the state too. What is the document given to the purchaser of a co-op that not only makes him a shareholder, but allows him to occupy the unit?
D, proprietary lease.
Proprietary lease. All right, legal versus equitable title. Legal title. A legal concept signifying ownership to the collection of rights called a freehold estate. Right? So we talked about freehold estate, title, deed. Now title is really an invisible concept. How is title transferred via a deed? Okay? Now we have equitable title, which is you're going to be receiving title at a future date. Okay? The interest that implies a person will receive legal title at a future date. So for example, the interest that a buyer receives upon executing a contract prior to title closing. So you get in a sales and purchase contract with the seller. At that point, you have equitable title. Okay? Rent with option to buy, you have an option contract. You have equitable title. Equitable title also pops up on the state exam via something we're going to talk about now that's out of chapter 13, mortgages. Entitled theory states the mortgagee has a deed. The mortgagee is the lender and the mortgagor is the borrower. Don't get those confused because you'll bomb that particular chapter, right? The mortgagee is the lender. The mortgagor is the borrower. So, entitled theory states the mortgagee has the deed and the mortgagor has equitable title. In these states, the lender actually has the deed to the property. Once the property is paid off via the mortgage, there's a clause known as the defeasance clause, which will actually transfer equitable title to actual title. Okay? There's a question on the state exam along these terms when it comes to equitable title.
I was getting those mixed up.
Mortgagor, mortgagee, man. Chapter 12 and 13, you'll blow it. So let's talk about that quick. Mortgagor, lienor, grantor. In real estate, and only real estate, you can stick to this principle. The ors give something that is now money. And the E, the mortgagee, signee, grantee, give money. So mortgagor gives his property as collateral. Mortgagee gives money as a loan in exchange for it. Grantor sells his house, grantee pays money for the house. Lessor rents house, lessee pays money for the house. Assignor signs a contract to the assignee, typically in exchange for money. Lienor places a lien. Lienee wants to remove the lien, he gives money. So not in all legal terms, but in real estate, if you remember it that way, the E's are giving money, whether it's in the form of a loan, it's money being given. All right? Alienation is the act of transferring ownership, title, or an interest in real property. This interest can be transferred either voluntarily or involuntarily. There are two forms of voluntary alienation: the deed or the will. In order for a deed to be valid, a competent grantor must sign it, witnessed by two, voluntarily delivered and accepted. Grantee need not sign the deed.
So the grantor is the one that's giving it this time.
Is giving, well, or is give, right? The mortgagor gave his house as collateral, right? For the most part, you can choose which mortgagee you want to collateral your home with, right? If your credit's reasonable. It's a choice. Will, now, they like to ask a lot of questions on the will. If somebody died testate, they had a will. Intestate, no will. The testator is a male who left the will, and the testatrix would be a female who leaves the will. The real property transferred to the devicee, the person inheriting the estate via the will, would be referred to as the devicee. So know these terminology. They like to ask this on the state
Devicee is
exam.
who receives the,
Who receives the property.
okay.
A device.
But in this case, device C doesn't give money.
You're right. Inheritance tax, maybe. We could talk about how money's gonna be given. Probably an attorney to have received it. So, but for the most part, that's why I said not down the line, outside of real estate, grantor, grantee is the perfect example of it. But guarantor, guarantee, when we're talking about securing credit, would not work this way. I'm just teaching you a little trick when it comes to real estate. Don't run with it for the rest of your life. Now, involuntary alienation, there's various forms. The first one is descent. Person dies intestate, and the known heirs come forward, also known as probate. Okay? The property will then descend to the heirs via court. The second is escheat. No known heirs come forward, and the person died intestate. It goes to the state. Adverse possession is when the owner sleeps on his or her rights. Squatter's law, pretty much. Squatter moves in, 7 years. Flagrant, notorious possession does not hide the fact that they're there, pays the property taxes, and makes a claim on title. After the 7 years, the property would be theirs.
That's crazy.
Doesn't really happen. I always get that question, so not really. Eminent domain gives government power to take